Basically, the moderator has said so much about the mass timber, the characteristics, and what it contains. So I'm going to delve much on the properties of wood that make it desirable when it comes to mass timber production. Usually, different trees have different properties, which usually look into when it comes to selection, such as the anatomical, physical, chemical, and mechanical properties. But in natural ecosystem, most of these woods vary in their constituents. So if a particular tree is being chosen for mass timber production, the starting point is to look at, does it demonstrate these physical, chemical, and anatomical properties? If it does, is it able to withstand biodeterioration and under fungi attack? If it doesn't, then the next thing is to see how to incorporate all these features so that at the end of the day, you can have a wood that contains almost all the desirable characters that can meet the end user, which is for mass timber. So what we normally do is to carry out what we call provenance evaluation. Provenance evaluation meaning that you look at the distribution of this species, carry out a laboratory evaluation of a sample of the wood. Does it demonstrate what you are looking for? If it does, what are the shortcomings that are also expected from the end user? Then you now carry out what we call hybridization. That is a process of trying to incorporate these desirable characters into your final product. So once you are able to achieve this, then the next thing is to establish a standard forest nursery where you can raise this same species, which we consider as an hybrid on improved material. And once you are able to do that, then you carry out progeny trials, especially including the location where you want to set up the plantation. So once this is done and you're able to come up with all the desirable character, the next phase is to establish, is to go into mass multiplication of these improved seedlings, and then you get to the stage of setting up your plantation. Usually, plantation is a sensitive thing, so you have to take into consideration species-site interactions. That is, which species will do very well in a particular location. And then after that, once you are sure of that, you also consider various environmental factors and the ecological and climatic requirements for this species. At the end of this, the starting point is to clear the land. You can do selective or total clearing, but essentially you must make sure that the topsoil layer is minimally disturbed. Thereafter, you do your pegging, then you do your digging of the holes where this seedling is going to be planted. Usually we have what we call a espacement, that is inter-tree distances between and within rows. And once this is established, you can now determine the total number of a seedling per hectare. If, for instance, you are using 3 by 3 meter as your espacement, then it means you will have about 1,100 seedlings per hectare. And hectare is 100 by 100 meter. So once you do this, then the next thing is to plant your seedlings on this specification. And once you do that, you now consolidate, and then you begin to ensure that, yes, you are having optimum population per hectare. So there are activities in order to achieve sustainable plantation establishment. There are post activities that you carry out. This include beating up. Beating up is after about 3 months of planting, there may be some mortality, and during this period, you move around, assuming from your 1,100, which you planted initially, you lose about 100, then you go back to your nursery and then replace those dead ones with this one so that you can have optimum population of seedlings per hectare. Then the next operation is weeding. And then this is to prevent initial competition of wheat with your seedlings. And this is followed by planting of green manure in form of cover crops. There are a lot of green manure that you can plant, especially those that are nitrogen fixing species like Centrosema, pubescent, and also some edible ones like soybean or cowpea. This can be planted initially both to add nitrogen to the soil and also to smoothen the weeds. So once you achieve this, then you monitor growth, and then you carry out pruning, that is removal of extra branches, and also later you apply fertilizer. Using stewardship Forest Council procedure, that is in achieving a sustainable plantation, you must ensure that all the best global practices are put into operation so that at the end of the day, you can have what is called a sustainably managed plantation. This process will continue, and until when you now feel that yes, the timber are mature for harvesting, then you'll be able to get the required wood for the mass timber. Essentially, the critical point here is that the selection at the initial stage during provenance evaluation must ensure that you are, all right? So like we said earlier, the critical thing in mass timber production, when it comes to plantation establishment, is to actually get the right properties in terms of physical, chemical, mechanical, and anatomical. And once this is incorporated, then you now look at all the other things, maybe as fast-growing tree species, and also those that are resistant to biodeterioration. And once all this is achieved, the next thing is to get site-species interactions, which will make your species adapted to the ecological zone where you want to establish the plantation. And like I've said earlier, we have a lot of post-establishment activities, which I've mentioned, including beating up, weed control, planting of green manures, and then fertilizer application. All this will ensure that the genetic constituent of these species are fully established at the end of the day, so that you'll be getting the right quality timber for the mass production, for the mass timber production. Now, looking at all this, there are challenges at the Nigerian level. One of the issues is that of land tenure. Acquiring large area of land is not very easy, particularly if you are an individual investor. So you have to go through the government, and then government assists you in acquiring this land. Then we also have the problem of capital. That is, plantation investment is a big time investment that requires a lot of money. So sourcing for this money might require things like government support through the Bank of Industry, maybe CBN serving as a guarantor, so that investors can have access to capital in form of fund for the different stages of plantation establishment. Then in recent times, there is the need for also to make your plantation available to stock market, just like other products. So if after 5 years, your plantation can go to the stock exchange market, they can value it both in the carbon market and all the physical products that are coming from the forest, and then you can begin to get some money for post-establishment management before the timber actually matures. So I think this webinar in research is a very good one for sensitization of Nigerians and private investors who want to go into timber plantation to meet the mass timber market. I will see if I can show my slide so that it can be shared among the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. The only thing is that we didn't see your slides, but
yes, that's what I'm trying to show now. I'll put on the slide so that it can be shared.
Okay, we will appreciate it will have been very, very ideal if, as you were speaking, your slides were coming on. But as it is now, if you send your slides, definitely, yes, because there's going to be a video. Oh, all right, great.
Yes, because the slide is on now.
Okay.
Can you see it then?
Yes, we can. Do you want to say something to this?
Yes, let me just go to the last, which has to do with the challenges. Just a minute.
Please,
yes. Yes, you can Yes, under the conclusion and recommendation, I said that no doubt mass timber development and technology is a recent thing in Nigeria, but the challenges are quite surmountable over time. One of the ways to achieve is this current webinar, which I've mentioned. And the next thing is creating more awareness at the level of various people, especially those who have established plantation, so that they can factor in supply of timber for the mass timber industry. Then there is also the need to create awareness for genetically improved seedling, because they serve as the foundation stock for plantation establishment. You know that most of these wood used in mass timber have special qualities, cutting across anatomical, chemical. So beyond this, you also want to make sure that, yes, it can sustain various environmental problems, including insect and pests. So once these are factored in, then you are sure of producing quality timbers at the end of the day that can meet the mass timber market. Then the other thing is the provision of enabling environment, which I've mentioned. Government supporting individual investors, in ensuring that they can get land at a very reasonable amount, and also having access to banks, particularly Bank of Industry. Then establishment of Forestry Commission. You know that the Forestry Commission in every state has special priority for plantation establishment and also for forest activities. So making this coming on board, we promote proper and sustainable plantation establishments. Like I said, there is the issue of forest certification. For your species to meet the international standard, you have to get the plantation certified, particularly following the Forest Stewardship Council procedures. Once all these are incorporated at the time of plantation establishment, definitely you can meet the specification of people who are involved in mass timber usage, either the architects or the engineer or other builders. Thank you very much.